Let me do this real quick. There we go. What are you doing? There's a bandage over here? Oh, it's right here. Oh my god. Lazy boy. Lazy boy. Lazy. Look at you. Oh my god. You stretch. Little bandito. Look at you. Oh my god. Meow. You ridiculous thing. Look at you. Mm. Oh, you're a silly, sweet little thing. You're just a silly, sweet little thing. Come on, Zook. Little Zook wolf. Look at you. Can you... You're smacking me with your tail, bro. You gotta stop eating my socks. I need to buy some socks specifically for you. And then socks specifically for me. And you can't eat mine. I'm running out of socks. Very quickly. I don't like it. Because this will prick. It's like, thanks. You're literally are eating away my socks. Great. That's tremendous. Thanks, bro. Thanks, bro. You just have to be that way, huh, boy? Huh? Don't you? You just have to eat off all my socks. Because you're a fucking ball of angst. You're a big ball of angst, bro. And it's a little absurd. You and your big ball of angst. Though, I think it comes from me and my ball of angst. Doesn't it? Oh.
Hmm?
Well, you know what? I need free water. Use. There you go, buddy. Got a little bit of aqua for you. This.
Cool.
What? I just refilled your bowl of food, and it's full of turkey, rice, and kibbles, so some delicious amazingness that you should be absolutely spoiled the shit out of with, and yet here you are, pawing at my knee. You're pawing at me when you have... My dude, oh, you just want to play. That's what it is. You're just being that little weirdo. Here. Come on, bro. There you go. Yeah. Yeah. Chili, chili. Look at you. You're fucking crazy. A little crazy. I don't think that's what you is. It's just a little crazy. Yeah. Bit the bowl of craziness. Yum. My goodness. What? What? What you want, little dusty boy? What you doing, little super cow? What you doing, little super cowboy? You got food there, you got water. Your needs are met. Your needs have been satisfied, and yet you are. Zukov. Bruh. Your needs are met. What the hell? That little tail going off in the background behind you is really cute, but there's a lack of communication going on here. What are you attempting to, like, mention to me here, bro? Look at you. Oh my god, you suck. Alright, feeling better. Basically got cool things to do on vaccine. Sweet, that's good. Man, I never woke up today having some fun, interesting little internet encounters. Like, honestly, I was watching that fucking Marjorie Taylor Greene episode on DFF, and at least after the fact, and Jesus Christ, like, fucking YouTube's algorithm are just inherently and fervently and openly, like, biased in defense and of, like, protection towards far-right and conservatism ideas. Like, literally any fucking comment that was even, like, neutral, like, I was watering down any comment that I was making to the point of neutrality, and YouTube would just immediately fucking remove the comment without, you know, whatever. You know how it fucking does that shit. Like, it'll post a comment and leave it up for, like, 20 seconds, and then it'll take it down immediately without any due process or nothing. It's like any comment that is even neutral of Marjorie Taylor Greene that was put up is pretty much immediately removed. It's just like, Jesus fucking Christ, I hate this goddamn far-right conservative-ass platform and shit. Because it literally panders and, you know, enables Nazis and fucking far-right pieces of shit, but yet, like, anything that's remotely close to center-left or further left than that is, like, unviable or fucking, you know, deemed a problem and needs to be, you know, propped down under the algorithms and suppressed. But no, far-right crazy ideas like anti-vax shit, crazy fucking far-right, you know, conspiracies of anti-Semitism and, like, Jewish space lasers and shit. I went cheap on my own hand with her. She's a literal fucking cow. Like, I'm just gonna be straight honest with her. Or just about her. Like, honestly, if there's one woman that should have, like, the whole women's suffrage thing revoked for her, it's her. Marjorie Taylor Greene don't deserve that shit. Being born and raised in one of the most racist fucking counties in the country and shit. And it shows. It's like, maybe she needs to be a proper fucking far-right conservative housewife and know her place. Like, what's she doing a man's job? What's she doing what a man should be doing, being in, you know, Congress and actually being in a position of power? Isn't that what a good Christian woman ought not to do? Is be a mayor instead of actually being what a man should do? She should know her place. But yet, she wants to be like this, big old Christian, far-right, you know, traditionalist or whatever the fuck. And straight up, like, she isn't espousing anything that she believes. Because if she did, she would be a housewife, she would know her place, she'll be a slave and obedient to her husband, and he has every legal jurisdiction to do whatever he can do to her. As stands, you know, when it comes to their relationship. Like, if he wants to beat her senselessly and abuse her, he can do that. If he wants to rape her, he can do that. Like, I mean, that's a part of a Christian far-right traditional marriage, is that the husband has the legal jurisdiction to basically abuse and use their fucking broodmare wife and not give a fuck. So maybe she ought to learn her place and fucking, you know, take an example of her fucking ideas. Fucking harlot. Whore for conservatism, the fucking bitch. It's like, I got no more problem, like, quote-unquote, dehumanizing that fucking cunt. Like, I mean, I really don't care. I really just don't. Like, she doesn't qualify to, like, fucking shovel horse shit. I mean, it's kind of hard to qualify for it when you literally are a walking horse shit. Less than 2 inches wide. Yeah. Like, there's specific laws on that shit in the books for these people. It's just like this racist fucking, like, backwoods, like, inbred mare of a fucking woman wants to be, you know, wants to try to think that, you know, she knows, like, the, you know, in depths of taps about, like, the American people, what, like, the American culture's about and shit. It's like, go do your job and be a housewife, you fucking mare, you dumb bitch. Like, you're gonna be out there in Congress when you're, where the core root of your philosophy is to be a fucking subservient slave housewife? What's wrong with you? You're not Christian. You're not a true Christian, Marjorie Taylor Greene. You whore. You harlot. How dare you do the service of the devil, bitch? I mean, she literally is anyway, if there was any religion. Like, if there was any truth to that shit, she would be more in closer with Lucifer and their fucking religion more so than anything else. Well, actually, that's not true. She would actually be legitimately closer to what God actually would depict. Who's a savage, barbaric, fucking psychopathic God anyway. Besides, the Bible says that a woman needs to be a slave. Like, that's pretty much the decree for a woman, is to be a slave to the husband. Which is why I'm saying this so much about her. It's like, oh, you're such a good Christian, you're such a good traditionalist, then be a housewife, be a slave to your husband, you fucking whore. If you're not, then you're just a fucking do-nothing harlot that's devious and fucking, you know, not knowing her place as a proper woman. How dare you? You're not Christian. Though I think it shows how disgusting their fucking ideology is, though, doesn't it? It's like, they're okay with, you know, women being in that type of position unless it's like, you know, just women they don't like. Then they want women to be subservient housewives. But if they like them enough, then it's okay for them to be in positions of power. I mean, and also these days it is a lot more harder to just make a woman subservient because of women's suffrage and all that shit from 100 years ago. So it's a lot harder for them to just beat their wife openly and shit like that and, you know, discipline her openly. So that's how hard, you know, people like Marjorie are able to kind of get away with so much, because basically, like, their husbands have no real control because of our current system, which is probably in a silver lining good. And, you know, now they can't, you know, practice what they preach, so now you got these fucking women who, growing up, had basically no education, no real fucking social interactions, decide that I'm a fucking pretty little dress piece, you know, for my family to advertise to other family members, to basically be, you know, propped up and, you know, looked at as merchandise to sell to other family members as fucking marriage, like, because they are all about that child arranged marriage shit. Like, you know, it's like, hey, I'm gonna be used as a fucking piece of product for my family to sell to other families, you know, to arrange marriages so we can have our own little family that we can advertise and sell as a product. It's like, go fucking figure. And then when you have somebody who's too much of a fucking idiot to even qualify for, you know, any remote governmental office, on top of, you know, being in a literal racist religious cult, this is what you get. And honestly, like, when it comes to motherfuckers like that, it's just like, yeah, I mean, honestly, it's like, know your fucking place then, bitch. Know your place. Be the fucking housewife then. Get the fuck out of office. Same goes with everyone else. Like, all these far-right Christian traditionalists and shit, you know, like, so many of them, you know, at least the women specifically, so many of them have these jobs and all that shit, and it's like, what is this? You're not being a true Christian. You're not being a true traditionalist Christian mother. Be a subservient slave to your husband and to your children. What's wrong with you? How dare you? You're going straight to hell. Damnation upon all of you. It's just like, I mean, come on. It's like, what? Do you think they're going to just be able to hide that shit? Like, honestly, when it comes to people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, this type of shit should be brought up often. Like, every time, you know, someone asks her a question, it's like, how come you're not being a housewife? Why aren't you being obedient to your husband? Why aren't you breeding more children for your husband? Why are you in office? Because you're not being a true Christian. Why are you in church right now? Why is your husband not disciplining you? Why is your husband not making sure you're disciplined and doing your job as a housewife? What's going on here, Marjorie Taylor Greene? Are you not a true Christian? Fucking fascist psychopath. And also, what true good womanly Christian, you know, is using her fucking force and authority to just garner up a bunch of guns? Isn't that what the man is supposed to do? What if Marjorie Taylor Greene is actually, like, secretly a dude or some shit, dude? Like, what the fuck? The weird ass, like, oh, everyone who's, you know, who's a celebrity in Hollywood's trans, but only it's politicians now. But just far right freaks. I mean, it's just like, good lord. Like, I really secretly trans Marjorie Taylor Greene. I mean, honestly, if that's, like, now I'm thinking about it, if that's the result, then holy shit, who's the fucking doctor? Like, who's the doctor who did that, you know, reversal surgery? Because we need to make sure that person is just away from any, like, trans surgeries and shit. Because, like, holy fuck, they butchered everything. Like, I'm just gonna be fucking blunt. Like, she straight up looks like a cow fucked a naked mole rat, and then that offspring fucked a potato, and this is the offspring of that. Marjorie Taylor Greene is the offspring of a cow and a naked mole rat fucking, and that offspring finding a potato and fucking that, and that's the offspring, is Marjorie Taylor Greene. Because her head literally looks like a russet potato. I'm not even fucking kidding you. It's just, it does. Like, get rid of the hair and the face, she looks like Mrs. Potato Head. What if that's the secret conservative way to try to, like, bring back Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head? Marjorie Taylor Greene is just Mrs. Potato Head. Best sentient. Oh my god. Ugh. I just see how fucking YouTube, like, will just, like, censor anything that's remotely negative about, like, anything. Especially when it comes to, like, right-wing shit. Because, like, especially considering, like, Lojiki, it's like, would you, like, why do you care if, like, there's, like, if the algorithm's detecting negative shit about conservatives? Like, seriously, considering that there a lot of them, including Marjorie Taylor Greene, is very anti-Jewish. It's like, Like, honestly, that's like another little thing. That's why your husband doesn't discipline her. She has a bigger dick. Evidently. Must be. I mean, it's just like... I mean, it honestly just really shows why, you know, there's also, like, a lot of conservative GOP members that tend to be just dudes in general. It's not because just, like, man, but... I mean, it really is kind of because of that. Honestly, because it's just like, so much of their fucking ideas are based around like, oh, the man needs to be in charge and this and that and everything. But it's like, every time they have like some crazy female conservative come out, it's like, like half of their fucking ideas suddenly go out the window when it comes to what women should be doing. Because then they got like this, essentially like an exemption when it comes to women, and then they, you know, let them be propped up. It's like, why do you have such random exemptions? A lot of Republicans seem to be secretly like blowing other guys. Well, of course. There's like a lot of dudes who are very much into the whole, like, I'm gonna be here, like these conservatives are like, I'm secretly gay. I don't want to, you know, I don't want to show it because I fucking want to Just basically, just like, fucking, just proposes, goddamn, you know, this idea that, you know, is what really ought to be true to nature and shit. This gay shit ain't natural. It ain't natural, boy. I tell you what. Just, you know, having a slight sexual interest of any way, shape, form to the same sex orientation is just wrong, I say. Or in a Frank Does Case, Catboys, yeah. I mean, the sad thing is, like, for, at least for me, it wouldn't, like, the whole thing of them being into Catboys or fucking being gay or whatever the fuck, it would not be, an issue or something I poke fun at if they just accept it. Like, that's kind of, like, that's the one thing when it comes to this type of shit, you know, between the love service, it's like, the only reason why I fuck on you guys is just because you don't accept it. Like, y'all fuck on everyone else over shit because y'all can't accept your own shit, and everyone else is happier and fucking, you know, being okay with who they are. So it's like, we're just fucking on you because you're too insecure. But a lot of these insecure right-wingers and shit, they all like to fuck on everyone else because of their own insecurities. It's like, really? It's like how sad. So much self-report, so much projection. Because honestly, earlier, like, I saw this, like, random community post that was recommended to me on YouTube that was just, like, you know, where it's just, like, me at 10, I'll never date anybody, or I'll never have a relationship, and it shows, like, the Chad, like, the side profile pic of the Chad or whatever the fuck. And then there's fucking, me at 19, where it has, like, the Doomer fucking Wojak or whatever. It's just like, I'll never have a relationship. And it's like, and the comments were fucking filled with this woe is me self-loathing fucking shit, dude. It's like, oh my fucking god, what a bunch of sad boys. What a bunch of sad little fucking boys, dude. Are we serious? Like, this is the literal big fucking thing they're all, like having an existential crisis over at 19 and, like, early 20s. Like, that shit really, to me, is just straight kind of pathetic. It's just like, there's so much other shit in life right now, and the one fucking thing you're worrying about is, like, having a date or getting laid. Like, bruh. Like, that ain't the entire fucking, like, that ain't how the world operates, bro. Like, the world operates in, like, endless, various different fucking ways. Like, find something else. Like, seriously. Like, if anything, that shit comes into play when you do other shit. It's like, if you just purely focus on that shit, you ain't getting it. Because people can really notice that. Or it's like, oh yeah, this person doesn't have much going on, but they're desperate to try to fucking have a relationship. Ooh, well, I don't really want to be with that because, you know, they're desperate and don't really have much going on for them. There doesn't seem to be anything interesting about them, so whatever. Like, move on to someone else who looks a little interesting. To find out that getting laid isn't the end-all be-all. Seriously. Honestly, that's what it took for me. Because honestly, I haven't gotten laid that often. And I haven't been with, like, really many people. I've only been with, like, at most, when it comes to full-on intercourse and shit, max, like, hey, Zukov, max, like, 2 people. So, I mean, all in all, it ain't a big deal. Zukov. And I just haven't, and honestly, when it comes to sex shit, I haven't had, you know, had any in about a month or 2 or whatever, fuck, but who cares? Like, it's not a big deal. And if it was like a year or 2, it still wouldn't be a big deal. I'd probably, you know, there would probably at that point be back in my mind, like, man, I kind of want to get laid a little bit. You know, it's like, it's not like, you know, it's not like unimportant. It's like not like, you know, something you should not, like, absolutely just never give a fuck about. Like, because it's important, you know, when it comes to your own general mental health and shit, to, you know, mess around a little bit. But don't let it, like, literally be, like, something that just consumes you and shit, you know? Where it's just, like, it's the only thing you think about. I mean, because, shit. I mean, because if it, at least at this point, if it pops up in my mind, it's more of just, like, you know, it just pops up in my mind for, like, you know, a little bit while I'm, like, horned up for a minute, and then it goes away, you know? It's like, alright, whatever. I mean, because overall, it shouldn't really be seen as a big deal because it isn't. Like, yeah, it's nice, it's fun, it obviously, there's definitely nothing to, just like dog on and whatever, but, who cares? I mean, if anything, chances are you're going to have more experiences, regardless, that are going to probably be quote unquote like embarrassing or don't work out totally well versus actually working out all the way. I mean, like, because again, it's just a part of the human experience. Like, yeah, you're not going to, get laid every single fucking time you meet someone you're into, and sometimes when, having sex and shit, sometimes it doesn't work out 100%. Sometimes it's like, oh, some awkward stuff happens, or, the mood isn't totally right, or, doing something new and, end up not being quite into it, or whatever the fuck. This shit happens. Who cares? Just say, just take it on chin and move on next day, and there you go. And also wish I could find that community post again, just to read somebody's comments, because so many of them were just pathetic. I mean, and it's not even like, the people themselves are, it's just like their fucking, like, view and standing on it is. Like, like, half of these fucking people I can just look at and be like, alright, bro, just literally go outside, go to the park, like, if you're 21 or their country or the place that you live in has legal drinking age at 19 or 20 or some shit, go to the pub, like, something. Like, I mean, if the back of your mind is so, if that is, like, really that much of a thing to you, doing other things that at least kind of have, like, the possibility of, having sex or some shit happening, in those events, go to those places. The pub, like, different little local events. Like, because I live in Portland, especially during the summer, there's a thing called Pedapalooza, where it's like, you got like a lot of bicycling events where, cyclists from all over town, get together and have a themed bicycling event and get together and shit. Like, there's a naked bike ride. I mean, that's one example. I mean, there's all sorts of shit. I mean, and yeah, like, are some of them more family friendly and some of them aren't? Yeah. Go to the not so family friendly ones. Chances you'll probably find somebody. Even if it's not that night. Like, that's like the other thing. It's just like people think that, like, oh, if I'm gonna, try to, get laid with somebody, it's gonna be like that night. It's like, no. It's like, it might not be that night, might not even be that week. But, you gotta fucking actually, like, treat them like a person and interact them as a human being instead of a goal to fuck. I mean, actually, it kind of reminds me of Derek Jensen's analogy, which is more about, like, the environment, but it actually works really well with it. It's like, if I look at, because he makes the analogy, it's like, if I look at a tree and I see a tree, I'm going to look at it one way. But if I look at a tree and I see dollar bills, I'm going to look at it another way. And if I look at that particular tree and look at this very particular tree, I'm going to look at it differently still. Extrapolate tree with, with a woman. It's like, if I look at this woman as a woman or this person as a person, I'm going to look at them one way. If I look at this person as a sex object, I'm going to look at them, differently still. And if I look at that particular person as one particular person, then, it's the same analogy. It's like, just go into it, treat them like any other human being, which, like, if you do that, and chances are the whole, like, having sex with them might legit be a little bit more of a possibility. But again, it shouldn't even be, like, the main goal of anything. Like, I bet I could probably find it still, because I posted a comment to it, so maybe someone replied to it. No? Okay, well, yeah, I'm not going to be able to find it, honestly. First time I got laid, I was with a friend I had known for years, so I didn't realize she was into me until she finally made a move. We were just chilling, smoking a bowl, and just chilling, boom, sexy time. I mean, that's kind of what happened with me. I was with one of my friends who was a friends of benefits for a while, and, there was, like, this kind of, from both of us, like, this, like, kind of half-assed, like, yeah, we're kind of into each other, but no one really made a move, and eventually he did, and then, yeah, boom, sexy time happened. And that happened a bunch of different times until full-on sex, too, by the way. You know, we were, like, for a while, it was more or less just kind of messing around, sucking each other off and jerking each other off for a while before, like, full-on sex happened. You know, so it's just like, even then, like, sex time doesn't mean necessarily full intercourse either. But even then, it's like, so? I'd always taken it as she was just having fun. Well, I mean, because it is. Like, I mean, honestly, flirting back and forth can be fun. Or else people wouldn't do it. I mean, so, like, yeah, there's definitely an element to having fun when it comes to flirting and shit. Especially if you're doing it very playfully. You know, so it's like, an all in all. Yeah. I mean, you know, maybe there was actual some sense of having fun with it, but just... You know, never went, like, the full-on, you know, getting too serious about it, because, you know, being friends and shit. So, I don't know. I feel like having fun with it, you know, plays a major role. Oh, sweet Jesus. On the brink of World War III. Thanks, Kyle. Thanks, bro. Thanks for this fucking title of the video. Yeah, I watched the Ukraine video earlier, scary stuff. Yeah, check it out here real quick. I'm looking at some of the comments. January 2020, World War III memes, serious about getting drafted. 2022, January 2022, World War III memes, serious about getting drafted. January 2020, rumors of deadly virus taking hold in China and certain other countries. January 2022, rumors about antibiotic-resistant diseases being on the rise. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Honestly, I've been expecting war to come. Great, yeah. I mean, I'm not necessarily surprised either, because considering that there's like a lot of stagnation with the current paradigm, what helps revigorate and jumpstart it? War. I mean, look at the major precedent-setting, you know, events that have happened prior to World War I, World War II, and other major conflicts between superpowers and shit. I mean, there's a lot of, usually there ends up being a lot of stagnation, you know, elements of economic instability, you know, and rise of nationalism. All these different things, you know, kind of play a role when, when it comes to exacerbation of war. Because it keeps people distracted from the fucking bigwigs up top. Because they're the ones who are fucking perpetrating it and shit. Because then everyone gets to get sent off and get a gun. Sent off to some other land, you know, to fucking, you know, like, kill somebody else who was swindled in, you know, conscripted in the same shit. By the same type of fucking bigwigs over in their fucking plot dirt. So, go fucking figure. Well, time to set myself up as a draft dodger now. We can't have nuclear armed states going on with each other, or it's game, set, match for humanity. Yeah. I mean, all in all, it makes me kind of wonder, it's like, I mean, what truly is, you know, like, what will kind of cause, like, the nuke to fly, you know, so to speak. Because I don't know if World War III is necessarily going to start it off right off the bat. Like, nukes aren't going to fly first. Like, they're going to be the last thing to fly. So it's just like, I mean, how long, you know, like, let's say, you know, this fucking war happens and shit. Which, because honestly, now from the looks of it, it just seems like it is going to be likely the case. I mean, if it is, the case that ends up being, happening and shit, like, it's in the best interest of these, of the owner class of any of these countries to not necessarily use those until, like, the last minute, essentially. Where it's like all's lost, and they want to make sure that at least the victors don't get anything out of the rubble and out of the pillages of war, basically. So, honestly, like, if World War III were to happen, really the best case outcome would be that there's somehow, like, some sort of stalemate of some sort, or, like, a minor victory on one way or the other. Like a fall conventional war followed by Lucine launching news as a final fuck you. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like in Fallout 2 there was Alaska of China and the United States where there was war and conventional warfare happening, but then there was like an armistice and a treaty. Now, I'm not saying that, like, oh my god, why is the world really starting to get more closer to the Fallout timeline? That's good. That's making me nervous more than anything. It's like, why is the Fallout timeline getting more and more closer to reality? Like, minus the crazy fucking lasers, guns, and shit like that. And, like, nuclear culture society where, like, everything's ran on on nuclear tech and shit. Like, outside of all that, like, why is everything getting really close to the Fallout timeline? Like, what the fuck? Like, Bethesda, or whoever initially started Fallout, like, fuck you. It's like, I think you predicted the future. Like, a little bit. Like, there won't be Deathclaws, there ain't gonna be, like, Night Stalkers patrolling the Mojave, where they're, like, coyote, rattlesnake mixed creature things. There ain't gonna be no fucking mutants, or, all that shit. Interplay Studios. Yeah, fuck you, Interplay Studios, for predicting the future. Bastards. But, like, I mean, in one way, it's like, alright, well, it's like, I suppose, like, that's kind of why, I just really think about, like, the more localized, communal direct action shit, because, honestly, all in all, like, that's probably the best case outcome when it comes to any type of scenario, including, including war. Because at least, if, like, even if there's, like, an occupation force or, nuclear fallout or, or any type of scenarios, at least there's some form of, self-sustaining that could be happening within you and your own type of community and shit. Even if you, like, bug out into, like, the forest or some shit and hide out. I mean, because at least at that point, you'll, have numbers and, you and yourselves to, hold out. But that's about it. Like, honestly, like, I mean, when it comes to these type of things, and, just, and, like, outside of that, I mean, there's not really too much, positive, like, outcomes, especially when it comes to the whole war metric. And honestly, when it comes down to that, like, fuck, being on any side on that shit. Like, I'd be against the Allies, and I'd be against the Axis, I'd be against, like, anybody and everybody partaking in that shit, as far as I'm concerned. And knowing China and Russia, like, considering how close they are to the Pacific, and how close I am to that, like, if there were to be a war to break out and any of them were to try to hit U.S. soil, chances are I'd be in occupied territory. And as far as I'm concerned, I ain't fucking playing on either side. No side's my friend. No side's my ally. Aside from the people that live here. Like any U.S. troop, I just tell them to fuck off, leave me alone. Like any occupational troop, well, I'm just not talking to them. There just won't be any fucking conversation with that. In fact, there won't be any interaction aside from one, and one where I walk away from, anyway. But nonetheless, they ain't no fucking, like, Red Dawn shit anyway. Like, I'd rather avoid that. I'd rather just, hide off in the woods with that shit. And just keep everyone, like, a 10-mile radius away from me and my own at that point, and just have a little radio and just listen in on what's going on. And when shit cools down, then go back. Be like, okay, I've hit it off. Look like some grizzled mountain man or some shit. Just come back. I'm like, I'm back. The war's ended, and now it looks like there's a Chinese flag flying up here with a Russian collaboration flag. Alright, well, fuck it. I'm living here now. Guess I'll be collaborating with Red City more now, and at this point, I guess there's less freedoms, I suppose, but hey, fuck it. I have an armory. I think that'll be kind of the very unique thing that any occupational force would have to deal with being in the United States. You'll have to give America one thing. People here love guns. And when it comes down to, like, any type of motherfucker that's thinking they can just, like, you know, bring their big gun and try to fuck around and find out and shit, like, I mean, you have to at least give America that. So they would have another thing coming. Like, honestly. So, I mean, I suppose if there is a weird silver lining to all the weird gun nuts, I mean, there's that, I guess. Can't remember who said it. To invade Americans, to divide a gun between every blade of glass. I actually think that was Yamato. Oh, not Yamato, Yamamoto. I think that was Yamamoto who said that. Because I think him and a few other high-ranking military generals in the Japanese empire at that time, they kind of were aware of the sleeping giant that was America. Because I think Yamamoto especially has actually studied and visited and has been to America, you know, prior to World War II and prior to him being in service and shit. He did a lot of his studies there. So he understood, like, because he's seen it firsthand, like, yeah, America is a big, booming, bustling place, and it's vast, it's big, and it's still growing, and to fuck with it would just, you know, incentivize its growth further. See, like, honestly. So it's just, I mean, considering its industries and, you know, and its capability and its vibrant people. Like, I mean, there was a lot of elements that, you know, that Yamamoto saw as, like, we shouldn't probably just leave America alone. If anything, probably try to be diplomatic with them. So there were at least a few voices, especially Yamamoto, who were like, yeah, let's not actually, like, go to war for America. Let's try to work something out a little differently. You know, we could deal with them later when we have a lot more of a focused prioritization with them, but let's not do that now. They kind of did the same thing that Hitler did. They bit off way more than they could chew, because at the same time they were dealing with the Chinese mainland and expanding into Indochina as well. And eventually would be dealing with the British Raj in India too. So it's like, if they just didn't fuck with the US and the Pacific specifically for that entire time and just focus on the mainland shit, and then, you know, start focusing into the ocean, they probably actually would have been a very, very severe major force to be reckoned with. Like, significantly. Like, I mean, but they bit off way more than they could chew, that, you know, so a lot of their equipment and resources got stretched way too thin. And eventually, our industry caught up with them, as Yamamoto said. Because, like, yeah, like, unless we, you know, do, like, you know, a stab in their lung and collapse the lung in the first strike, you know, they're gonna come back and stronger than ever. And they didn't do that. They got a jab in the stomach, you know, and it fucked us up for a second, but we got back up and we're like, alright, terminate the T-800 modes. Like, we just kind of went like, you do what, bitch? So, I mean, they didn't, you know, because the main reason why is because one of their main targets at Pearl Harbor was the carriers. And all the carriers happened to be doing training exercises that day. So they were out in the oceans and shit, doing their exercises and just doing, you know, little patrols. So they weren't out, you know, so they had like small little detachments, you know, out and about, so not all their targets were there that day. Which actually, for us, played a pretty good role, you know, in coming back up, because if they were there, then it would have been jabbed to the lung. Because then our entire naval force at that point would have just been fucked. Like, we'd have to rebuild all of our carriers, essentially, and repair whatever was damaged and at least, you know, still usable. And same thing with all the, you know, everything else that went with the carriers as well. I mean, if they didn't leave, it wasn't like that day they left. I mean, they were already out there doing their thing. But if they didn't leave when they were scheduled to leave and shit, then they would have been hit too. And that would have been a stab in the lung. But instead, it was just a stab in the gut. And at least you can probably get back up and fight a little bit from that. And, at least for America's case, came back stronger from it. All I know is that sure shit ain't gonna be my war. At least with this potential future one. It's just like, and honestly, is there actually gonna be like an anti-war movement? Because I can't be the only one thinking, you know, I ain't gonna be fucking, you know, partaking in this shit. Now, I'm not just mean lefties. Because I'm sure there's probably some conservatives out there that are like, you know, well, what's our, you know, why do we need to be out there in Ukraine and shit? What's our fucking business doing there? You know, you got like, you definitely got like some more libertarian-esque type, you know, conservatives that are probably thinking that. They're like, you know, we ain't got no bitches being there. That's Russia, Ukraine to deal with. Or whatever the fuck, you know? So it's just like, you know, like, where are they in this whole situation? Don't really hear many of them, but I wonder if there will actually be like, you know, an anti-war movement that kind of props up from something like this. Because we can seriously fucking use one. I mean, the rise of labor militancy, you know, especially with like a lot of social justice advocacy and shit that's was happening recently in the recent years, and now that and now this, like, it just seems like, you know, a major perfect, you know, like, mixture to really, like, incite, like, a new, like, kind of neo-Gilded Age-esque, you know, labor / like, civil rights era-esque type of, you know, movement, you know, to bump up against this type of shit. Especially due to the wealth income inequality and the desperation that people are feeling now. I mean, it's, like, that's kind of one reason why, especially when it comes to the U.S.'s role in this type of shit, I'm not exactly too, you know, nervous about it, because I guess, yeah, sure, there's probably going to be an ability for, like, power grabs and instability on the rise and that type of shit. I mean, like, depending on where the route plays and where it goes and shit, America might just have too much shit going on at home for it to essentially fucking matter at that point. Where it's like, we can't even, you know, have our equipment, logistics, and people out overseas and shit because, you know, we need them to be addressed at home. But I don't know, like, I mean, it would at least, you know, cause a major drain. I mean, because if you think about, like, the Vietnam War, there was, you know, with the anti-war movement that was happening during that time, it, you know, became a major back and forth while, like, yeah, the, you know, armchair generals were still fucking, you know, pushing, exacerbating the war. I mean, eventually they had to get out because of the consistent, constant fucking pressure. And that's what it fucking takes with this type of shit. Especially when it comes to a fucking hot war like that, and knowing the internet and technology today, you don't think that shit's gonna be, you don't think the fucking results of this shit's gonna be for everywhere to see? Like, civilians, you know, people on the front lines with their phones and shit, recording things, taking pictures. Especially civilians, like, they're gonna, like, I mean, when, like, you got, like, you know, different troops battling it out, and you see, like, the fucking destruction, you know, and these people that have fuck all to do with any of this shit, you know, just lay to waste. I mean, just, and not just, like, some Middle Eastern town where a lot of people probably legit don't give as much of a shit. Like, you know, different European towns and little villages in, like, Eastern and, you know, even probably Western Europe and shit, like, shit like this. Like, that, you know, has a little bit more of a fucking impact to people in comparison to, yeah, unfortunately, but you know, it does have more of an impact in comparison, you know, to somewhere in Afghanistan or, you know, in the Middle East. As fucked as it is sadly true. I mean, people will look at like some European town like, oh fuck, this got bombed to shit. Damn. You know, it's like, what, you know, what's this, you know, what's this cost, you know, doing to these people, you know, who aren't even involved in this shit. It's like, you know, like, let's say fucking, you know, Russia gets an offensive going, it's like, what does fucking goddamn, like, Romania have to do with any of this shit? Like, if, you know, because, like, they're probably, you know, like, all these other little minor states and shit are going to be involved. From, like, Germany, Romania probably, like, you know, fucking Italy, like, all these different countries. Like, if you got, like, you know, different places, you know, that have fuck all to do with any of this shit, it's like, you think those people are just going to, I mean, sure, you're probably going to get people who are like, oh, now it's on. But a lot of people are going to be like, what the fuck? Like, we have nothing to, you know, we're not involved, or we have nothing to do with this. This isn't our fucking problem. Like, now we're, you know, getting involved in shit for some other people's bullshit. Fuck you. Stop this. Like, I mean, there's going to be more voices like that in comparison. But, yeah, but at the same time, you will definitely get people that are going to be like, oh, now it's on. Let me get the gun now, bitch. Now it's our war, but it's like, but was it really? So, I mean, it never was in the first place, but now it is just because you were lumped into the problem. America has enough problems with a new war to deal with. I mean, neither do any of these other fucking countries. But, nonetheless. Last conversation proves that no one in the U.S. knows what's going on in the situation. Oh my god, some random know-it-all in the comments in this. Canada doesn't understand this video. This is oh my Jesus Christ, some dipshit. (1994) USA guaranteed Ukraine borders as a part of taking their nukes. What about that? Isn't it original deal? Agreements with Russia aren't worth the paper they're written on. Putin approved. Oh my god. Oh yeah, just like how America, you know, is honest with the deals that they write on paper. Yeah. I like the hypocrisy that's really, like, oozing from this shit. Because there's, like, a lot about, like, ooh, Putin, ooh, but it's just like, you don't think America does this shit either? There's a lot more corporate about it, so they don't necessarily have, like, actual, like, American soil, you know, propped up in these places. They just have their fucking corporate middlemen doing it. That they contract and shit. Hence banana republics. I mean, Russia's, like, corporate middlemen are just, well, they're just in the government. Like, I mean, they're just a full blatant oligarchy. Like, we're more of a corporatized, like militarized zones, republic yunkta of some sort. That's authoritarian as fuck, you know, that's, like, borderline oligarchical as fuck. But they're just, like, full-on blatant authoritarian oligarchy over there. Like, they're just, like, mob status oligarchy over there. It's like, okay. We at least have, like, some sort of, like, veneer of not being that, and to some degree we're not, but, like, I mean, we're pretty close. I mean, it's not like, you know, saying we're, like, leagues away, but, you know, it's more like this. It's not like this, where it's like we're skirting, it's more, you know, it's like, it's a decent metric, but, you know, we're still, like, we can still look over and be like, hey, you know, we can still look over, you know, to the other people in front of us and see them be like, hey, what's up? So it's not saying that much. America's just a lot more, I guess, smarter about it, while Russia's a lot more blunt about it. I mean, I guess the root of it all, that's kind of the main difference to the root. Russia's a lot more of a bear about it, kind of literally. Just like, you know, just like right in your face with it. Not giving a shit. And America's like, oh, well, you know, we're not like that, but we, you know, it's like we have to take all sides and consider everything, but, you know, like, yeah, we have to, like, you know, really respect the other side and, you know, really, you know, consider their, you know, perspective a little bit. That's, you know, it's like we understand yours as well. That's why we, you know, consider, you know, everyone's voice. It's like, fuck you. It's like, just, like, if anything, it'd probably be a little better if they were just blatant about it. Instead of this weird pandering bullshit that they do. But don't get me wrong, though. It's just like Russia still tries to like be like, oh, what? Oh, what? We killed them? No, that wasn't what happened. That was a random accident, comrade. That's what it was. Like, I mean, they're still, you know, it's like they're still cutthroat and they're still gonna fucking, like, try to hide the fact that they're doing the shit that they do, you know, but, again, they're a lot more blunt about it, because when it comes to shit that benefits them, when it comes to, like, expanding into the Arctic, or this whole Ukraine fiasco and shit, like, they're just open about it. They're just like, yeah, they're doing it, fuck you. Like, I mean, when it comes to, you know, like, their more global agendas in this way. Which, I guess, on one hand, I can at least respect to a degree, because, like, at least they're fucking, like, open and face forward and honest about what they're doing. You know, while their excuses as to why are bullshit and nonsense, because if you like, you know, look as to why they're trying to get in Ukraine, it's literally just a bunch of worked out nonsense bullshit that just is a justification for them to be there in the first place. But nonetheless, just them doing it is kind of what I mean. It's like if they're doing something, they just do it. It's like, yeah, we're just going to, you know, agitate to take this, thank you. But honestly, it's just like, especially when it comes to, like, honestly with him, it's not really that hard to see what he's trying to do. He's trying to, like, because the dude used to be in the USSR, obviously, he worked in the KGB, like, the dude's trying to, like, revive, like, this whole, like, Russian Soviet-esque style empire again, and try to, like, revive it and bring back its old, you know, borders of that. And, you know, to do so is first trying to, you know, regain a lot of the more predominant, like, Russian, you know, ethnic regions like Ukraine and shit like that, you know, to start off. You know, that's essentially what they're trying to do, like, you know, reinstate this shit. It's like, okay, I mean, why must there be a, like, I mean, it's like there needs to be a full-on blatant war with this shit. It's like, can't there be, like, some sort of, like, you know, back and forth with something like this? Like, obviously he's a slippery fucking snake, as all, you know, global leaders are to some degree, honestly, as far as I'm fucking concerned. So it's just like, it's like, okay, I mean, does it still at least not, you know, like, have a better outcome than full-on fucking war? Because, yeah, you know, it's like, even if, like, at the end of the day, it's more in his favor or not in his favor or whatever the fuck, it's just like, I'd say it's better than, you know, taking it to the fucking sword. Like, whatever happens to that quote, that depends, minder than the sword and all that shit, right? I mean, honestly, especially when it comes to this whole element towards war, like, I mean, one thing that, you know, I hope that, like, some of the labor militancy on the rise happening in this country, also happens is, you know, a mixture of the anti-war rhetoric seeped into it as well. Like, if, like, automotive companies are like, hey, you know, we need to start producing, you know, more military machines and shit like that. And, you know, instead of, you know, producing more civilian vehicles because of the fucking, you know, rise of prices when it comes to new, even used cars now. because prices for that are increasing, more and more. So instead of like manufacturing more parts in cars and shit for, what's already out there for like newer vehicles and shit, they're just like, nope. Let's start producing more Humvees and tanks and APCs and shit. It's just like, one thing about like these these units can do to kind of help stifle this whole war movement. It's like, no. It's like, we're not going to accept these contracts. We're going to continue making these civilian vehicles because people need them. They can make whatever, they can easily stand against this type of shit, because they did back in World War II and even in World War One. And they were considered traitors and fucking unpatriotic and saboteurs, of the who are working with the enemy and shit because of it. Even though they're not. If anything, probably more patriotic than those fuckers. Still read some of these comments on this video. I haven't even seen it. I haven't even like watched the video yet. We've just been talking about it. But I'm reading some of these comments here. Oh, well, what's this? Russia will always be the victim of everything. NATO does nothing. Russia is a victim. NATO does something. Russia is a victim. Constantly use imperialist rhetoric. Oh wow, look at this tiny country that's acting according to us. Better invade it, and you're better believe it. Ramp up. Russia's obviously the aggressive and all this stuff, synthesizing of autocrats. What? Wait, so what? This comment doesn't even make sense. At first, it's like, oh, they're always the victim, guys, and then they're like, they're not the victim. Huh? I guess Kyle had a hot take in here, because it says, Kyle, you're saying Putin wants to restore Soviet Union, and well, he kind of does. And then, I mean, he really does, though, honestly. Like, this guy is, because here's what the rest of it says. And then you say NATO should leave Eastern Europe in cold. Oh my god. There's actually, like, some context to that, by the way. Basically, you're okay giving half of Europe away to Russians. It's like, oh my god. The Russians! But, like, when the Warsaw Pact disbanded, one thing that was a part of the agreement upon of the dissolvement and the disbanding of the Warsaw Pact and the Soviet Union was that NATO was not going to add any further nations to its pact, to the NATO organization or the NATO treaty or whatever the fuck. And yet, ever since then, they have been slowly, one by one, over the course of those last decades and shit, since the dissolvement of the Warsaw Pact. So, if anything, NATO and Western Europe has been not been abiding by the fucking agreements that they did with the dissolvement of the Soviet Union and the Warsaw Pact. They've been going against that, and trying to because it was initially a military treaty. I mean, so Putin's seeing all these different nations get organized into a military treaty and a military alliance. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily, look exactly great for him. Doesn't excuse the shit he does. But it gives a little context and understands to why he's probably doing it. But does that mean, like, oh, we just leave Eastern Europe to the cold? No. Because that in itself makes no sense. It's like, that doesn't mean you don't, in other ways, diplomatically or otherwise, can help out, other nations. Like, what, NATO's the only way that you can help out Eastern Europe? It's just like... It's like, huh? I have a guess why Russia would want to expand in Ukraine. Ukraine historically was a part of the Russian breadbasket, producing a lot of food for Russia, USSR. Yeah. Ukraine predominantly, and to this day, still is a very agricultural-based nation. And when it comes to food production, like, any nation that's either diplomatically wise or owns it, basically that owns that, chunk of territory to some degree or another, would greatly benefit from it. So nations that have good trade relations with Ukraine, get benefit from some of their agricultural industry, and, well, because Russia's right next to them, they don't, it's more or less to them, it's like, well, we could just own it. And plus, there's the Russian minorities that live there. I mean, because in Ukraine, Russians there are technically the ethnic minority, so even though there's honestly that very little difference between them, like, I mean, which shows how fucking arbitrarily stupid that ethnic, shit can really be when it comes to, like, we're better than the other ethnic peoples, even though we're not different that much. Besides, basically, like, minor cultural and nation differences. It's like, but we're better than them. It's like, okay, yeah, whatever, fuck you. Hey. Someone's comment is just simply, bruh. Someone's saying the U.S. needs to get the fuck out of that region, period. Nothing will happen. I mean, we do have a naval force based in the Black Sea, and honestly, it's just like, they're, besides, to essentially do war games near Russia, there's real no reason for them to be there. Took off. Nope. Someone has an interesting outtake. It doesn't matter if USA and the Allies made some deal with Russia back in the 90s. Yeah, it does. Hot take, but stupid one. He also added, Russia's actually still likes the war. It's like, yeah, it's like it's like, oh, context from back in the 90s doesn't matter because of, still unjustifiable actions that they still do and shit. It's just like, what? Yeah, you can still say that their, actions that they're doing, are acts of war, while still saying that it matters, what, the U.S. and the Allies have done back in the 90s when it comes to their agreements and shit, because that also is context, to the broader situation. Not just with, the Ukraine, thing there as well. It's like, huh? We show our deals no matter how old they are, hot take. Yeah. Or otherwise our word is worthless. Yeah. Then what's the point of having a deal in the first place? It's like, oh, after a certain amount of time, then who gives a shit? It's just like, what? Then what's the whole point? Like, if that's the case, then there should be a time frame on that deal. It's like, all right, this deal nullifies after this amount of years. It's like, okay. Like, if the whole NATO agreement that did this, like, this nullifies after, like, 2015 or 2010 or some shit, then, beyond that, whatever NATO's actions were since, the nullification from that hypothetical type of element, wouldn't matter as much. Then it would, then, yeah, sure, that, agreement back in the 90s wouldn't matter then. But there wasn't some nullification time frame, so it does. It's like, huh? Like, the only time that it shouldn't matter is if there's, like, after a certain amount of time, there's a notification of an agreement, which happens. Those happen. It's like, yeah, we'll have, like, an armistice, or we'll have an agreement, or have a trading deal that lasts X amount of time, and after that, if we want to keep it going, we'll renegotiate it, or extend the time frame, or whatever, and if not, then it's just nullified, and whatever. So it's just like, I mean, these type of things happen all the time. But to be like, oh, well, it just doesn't matter. It's just like, yeah, there's, that's kind of a problem. Because they do matter. Because what's the fuck, then what the fuck's the point of having, like, an agreement? Or having a, negotiation, or, like, or treaty set up? What, do we just rely on, like, verbal confirmation? Let's just rely on people's word now. Oh shit, there's a whole hour-long video called Un-American Yet Totally American. Company Towns. From a channel called Knowing Better. I haven't heard of them, but... I already love the title of the video, because unfortunately, yes, it's very American, but at the same time, very un-American. I mean, that's kind of weird about America. There's so many things that are just American, but shouldn't, because in all, they really aren't American. But yet they just kind of are. Like, yeah, capitalist company towns. Yeah, that's totally American, brother. It's like, what? I gotta go to work at 3, so I won't have time to watch it now. But I will definitely watch that when I get off work, because that looks like a very interesting video indeed. In fact, I want to check out this guy's channel. The Veterans Rule the World, Starship Troopers. What are you afraid of? Self-help. Temporary residents of the world. Jehovah's Witnesses. Segregation by any other name. America. What's the full title? America Education. Ooh. Graduating to the next level. Ancient Aliens. Oh my god. Okay, this guy actually looks like he has some very interesting videos. The Price of Being Poor. Banking Services. Ooh. The Quartering of Troops. Police Militarization. I like this guy. I could just tell by this guy's videos I'm gonna like this guy. Cool. I'm definitely going to be checking that video out. I'll probably watch some of it while I'm on lunch later. Now I have a very, interesting assumption that I'm probably am going to essentially agree with, at least most, if not all of it. I have a very strong suspicion I'm probably going to. Where's Zukov go? Zukov! Oh, did he fall dead? Oh, motherfucker. Door's open. What are you doing, bro? What are you doing, bro? Honestly, I'm starting to wonder, are you able to open that fucking door? You're starting to freak me out there, bro. With the whole, like, out of nowhere, you're just like, whoop. Come here. Come on, buddy. Come here, baby. Come here. Come on. What? You think I'm mad at you or something? Come here. Come here. Oh my God, you silly boy. Where? Yeah, you kind of frustrated me and angered me because you ate my fucking socks. Or you kind of. But that's just more annoying than anything, because now I have to buy a bunch of fucking socks. Because you keep eating my socks. You guys just stop doing that. Like, what? What? Can I just not take my socks off in fear of you eating them? Do I have to be that dude? Be that guy? Just never take my socks off until I fucking have to wash them or something? Damn psycho. At this point, I'm going to straight up have to, like, really, start making an effort to buy more socks. And some of them I might just, like, legit wear for, like, a couple days straight just so he can use those to eat them or play with them or whatever the fuck he does with them at this point. Because then I can have, like, my normal ones, and then I can just have ones he can play with and just, you know, use and shit and not give a fuck about. Because... like, there's some good socks that I've had that he smashed up and shit. It's like, you fucking piece of shit. Like, the little asshole, man. It's like, I got some cool-ass looking socks, man. You know, it's like, and you just took off. Don't be a little turd. Sexy MM discourse is finally broken, Kyle. I want to see Kyle broken. I've seen pretty much, like, I've seen Vosh broken, Hassan broken, I've been broken. So many people have been broken by the sexy MM discourse, dude. Oh my God. Even one of my coworkers knew about it, because I was like, you know, we were, like, at a point where we're just kind of fucking around, you know, because we're pretty caught up. And I just asked him real quick, it's like, hey, have you heard the latest culture war discourse? And he's like, maybe, what is it? And I'm like, the sexy Eminem discourse. And he's like, and he just looked up, it's like, oh God, yep. And it was just like, we had a little fun time for like 10 minutes just goofing on that. Because, oh my God. I can't believe this has, like, been, like, I can't believe that this has been the latest thing. I'm honestly, like, I think about it occasionally. Like, I straight up will. Like, ever since Tucker did it, dude. And Gutfeld, too, apparently. Like, ever since these motherfuckers are freaked out about it, like, it comes up on my mind every now and then. Where it's just like, that actually happened. I just want to see Kyle broken, dude.
The sexy Eminem discourse that dropped over the weekend has officially broken me.
Good.
I am a broken man now. My brain sort of split in two and fell out my ears as I was listening to the dialogue.
I love it.
First
Did I like it yet? I'm liking
Eminem
it.
Discourse was a tweet from The Hill, and then I read the article on it. And so here's the gist of it. You have these Eminem characters, and the previous Eminem characters, I guess they were what one would call heteronormative.
I don't even know what that, like, I don't even know, they weren't even, like, they were, like, oh my God, who cares? They were androgynous as fuck, they're M&Ms, you think about them, you eat them, boom, there you go, like, what do you want? Fuck you. Like, it's an M&M. They're M&Ms, bro.
Sexy high heels. It feels ridiculous calling an M&M's high heel sexy, but you get the gist. They're supposed to look like they're sort of big high heels, and she's supposed to be like a very traditionally feminine-looking
M&M.
And, you know, I don't remember what the other ones look like. I don't really care. But Eminem thought, hey, in this modern era, let's cash in on, like, wokeness, and so let's scrap all of, you know, the heteronormative M&Ms, and they came out with a more diverse group of M&Ms, which is kind of funny if you think about it, because the old M&Ms, they were all different colors, and that's, you know, by definition diversity, but they wanted to.
Well, not only that, but their personalities basically didn't change at all. Like, I mean, they're all the same still. Like, I mean, their appearances are literally, aside from like maybe the designs of the shoes are now just, God forbid, different. Like, aside from that, there's honestly no difference with them. Aside from maybe they like ever so slightly changed, you know, like the design of how they look, like ever so mildly.
Like, they got the sexy M&M, they made no longer sexy. They were like, okay, let's make her heels lower and, you know, have her embrace whatever her ambiguous gender identity is. And then you had the one that made me really just like, I was like, seriously, this is what we're wasting our time doing now. This is how the capitalists are trying to get money off the youths. They have one of the M&Ms, I think it was the orange one, but I could be wrong, I don't remember.
It was the orange one, isn't it?
Anxious.
Orange one.
So he has mental health issues. And he looks like, you know, he's like shaking or whatever. And people were joking online, look, I can finally relate to one of these M&Ms. Look, everybody knows this. Woke corporations go in the woke direction because they feel they can make an extra buck that way. That's the point. And so they're trying to like appeal to the younger generation.
Honestly, I don't even necessarily think this was like M&M's thinking, oh, let's try to go woke, bro. I mean, well, a little bit. Like, I think it was like, hey, we know that people on the right like to kind of freak out about culture war stuff and woke culture and things like that. How can we, you know, ever so slightly change the M&Ms without necessarily making their appearances significantly different, you know, and say that we're, you know, going woke? And basically, the new M&Ms was the result of that, because they really aren't much different. They really aren't. There's literally no reason aside from the fact that the right-wingers bit into their fucking corporate bait. That's basically it. Like, I mean, I've thought about M&Ms since this, but I haven't, like, thought about M&Ms to the point of buying them and eating them. So the whole, like, woke thing, you know, when it comes to their corporate advertisement scheme, it didn't work for me, at least. I mean, it's like, and I buy M&Ms every now and then. Like, I'll buy some peanut M&Ms occasionally, because I like peanut M&Ms. Those are my favorite. And it's just like, I mean, but I'm not going out of my way, you know, to, like, you know, to, like, buy them because of this. Like, if I buy them in the future, it's more likely because I'm thinking I want some peanut M&Ms, because those are pretty good.
M&M with pink hair, and I have pink hair, so now I feel represented. Aren't M&Ms awesome, by the way?
Honestly, if they added hair to the M&Ms, that'd actually be a significant difference to their appearance, and if they had them all have, like, weird SJW hair or something like that, you know, I still wouldn't give a fuck, but, you know, there at least be, I guess, weirdly enough, more, like, intense exacerbation over shit like this.
I don't care how, you know, uber woke some college kids are. None of them are going to see a corporation trying to cynically use their ideology and then go, well, now I love Nestle, or it's actually not Nestle, it's Mars Company.
Mars.
As they're doing this whole, like, we're cool, we're hip, we're with it, we're an ethical company that fits in with the cool younger kids. As they're doing this charade, just so you understand, there was a lawsuit that Nestle and Mars, the company that makes M&Ms, and some other companies that are in the chocolate market and candy market,
they're using child and slave labor.
They've used slave labor overseas.
Yeah.
There's a Supreme Court case about it, or a court case about it. So they're like, we're really ethical and moral. Look at our, like, you know, gender-neutral M&Ms or whatever.
Like, honestly, I can see a lot of these fucking, so, like, you know, people that, you know, are contracted for, like, Mars Corporation wearing, like, M&M branded, like, you know, woke, you know, shirts, you know, like, you know, where they have, like, their faces on them and shit. Where it's just like, yep, we're gonna fucking, you know, just, like, you know, have these shirts, you know, or watching all our, you know, all our slaves, you know, harvesting our cocoa beans and stuff like that. That's right, brother. We're part of Mars Corporation, aren't we, woke? It's like, oh, God.
Really ill M&M. We're trying to respect everybody and show everybody that we believe in diversity and inclusion. As they're doing that, they're like
Did it.
using slaves. Everything is so annoying. So anyway, I saw that article and I was rolling my eyes. I'm like, Jesus Christ. It's this attempt of corporations to be like, we're gonna be relatable. You know, you see it, like McDonald's Pakistan tweeted like, I miss you the other day. They have this banter back and forth with different major corporations where they try to be edgy or whatever. It's like, oh my God, stop. This corporatocracy is out of control, and I hate all of you, and you're all cynical and exploitative, and you need to stop. So anyway,
It's time to stop.
my reaction to the woke M&M stuff. Well, then Tucker Carlson comes out, and he does a segment on it where he says this.
The other day we already heard it. I just want to hear more of him.
Wait, that's ridiculous too. So he's like genuinely outraged over this, and he's like, I wanna fuck this M&M. I guess it was the brown one and not the green one. Whatever.
Well, I mean, he's a white supremacist, but he has that kind of Thomas Jefferson style, you know, mentality about his proclivities. So it's just like, hey, you know, that brown M&M, you know, it's like, I might not normally want to fuck, you know, one of those brown M&Ms, but that particular, you know, M&M, I know, brother. I know about that M&M there, brother. They're looking pretty good, I tell you what. It's not sexy enough for me, damn it.
Why can't that M&M
They
be
unsexified it.
Why can't that M&M be fuckable? Why can't that M&M look like that? Bring that one back. So he's trying to say that like M&M's marketing ploy is like evidence of the downfall of modern society.
Which is where you want to fuck?
Too far.
The downfall of society is where you can't. It's where you can't fuck M&Ms, bro. The downfall of Western man is when you can't fuck the M&Ms anymore.
This is my ultimate takeaway, and I've had this take before, but I was a bit of a hypocrite when I first overly reacted to the woke M&M's, branding change. All of this is stupid. All of this is a distraction. That's
what culture war's about.
Garbage. It's red meat to the base of the insane, socially obsessed, like social issues obsessed, cultural issues obsessed. So, I to be fair, I haven't seen anybody who's like really in favor of what M&M's did here. So there is like, I don't think.
Because honestly, like, I don't think anyone cares. I mean, when it comes to what M&M's did, aside from the fact that it's, at this point, it's just fucking funny. Like, I just find it funny at this point. And now it makes me wonder, what's the next thing when it comes to the culture war shit? Because there's bound to be some. Even lower when it comes to the bar on this shit than M&M's. Those M&M's, dude. That ain't, you know... We think this is the bar now. I mean, that bar could get lower. Man, dude. I'm just, Man, I wonder. I'm really wondering. Took off. What you doing, baby? I don't even know, man. It's beyond parody. Like, I didn't even think M&M's would be a culture war thing. Ugh. I don't even know, like, boots? Like, what people wear for boots, I guess? Like, I don't even know. Like, oh, yeah, like, have you noticed that women are wearing more masculine boots? Is this the fall of Western society? It's just... Oh, my God, dude. If it's not the next one, it's going to be at some point. I swear to God, it's going to be. What the fuck? I mean, it might, because honestly, like, the whole weird M&M thing, part of it was, like, their shoes and shit, so, I mean, yeah, in a way, it might be the next one. Oh, my God. Marjorie Taylor Greene exists. M&M's is a new culture war fiasco. World War III is imminent. What a timeline, man. What the fuck is this goddamn timeline? What the hell? Oh, Dios mío, cabrón. Got a little Portland subreddit thing. What's this? Muffin the roly-poly separated from his sister. 5-year-old muffin. Love it. What? Oh, it's a kitty. Oh, someone's. Oh. No, poor kitty. Separated from her sister. That sucks. That poor kitty needs loves. I mean, I'm hoping that, you know, like, someone could reunite the kitty with her little sister. That sucks. That poor kitty. Bandit, you want outside? Speaking of poor kitties, is Zukov being a fucking little terrorizer to you? Is he terrorizing you? Aw, little buddy. There you go, Bandit. Don't go after the squirrels. Stretch. The other day, I found a fucking victim. Poor squirrel. And it's like, god damn it, man. It's like these poor squirrels, dude. I mean, it was totally, like, eviscerated, too. I didn't even, like, I'm not even kidding, there wasn't even a head on the thing anymore. I was like, what the fuck? What happened to this poor fucking guy? Ugh. I mean, honestly, it didn't look like a bandit. It looked like more maybe like crows or something, because there's been a bunch of crows roosted around here, so I'm thinking they were probably fucking, you know, been terrorizing the squirrels and probably claimed one of them. Or maybe a couple, honestly. It's like, man, I like crows, but don't go after my fucking squirrels. I care more about the squirrels than any of you little shits. Hey, baby. Wanna tweet? I need no tweet. Up. Whoop. Good boy. This Dr. Slim's Barry Weiss's tantrum on Bill Maher's show. Oh my god. What's this about?
I'm done with COVID.
She's acting like a child.
Former New York Times op-ed editor
Whoa.
and full-time crybaby Barry Weiss was on Real Time with Bill Maher, where she had a tantrum over COVID protections. And that clip was played for a doctor who reacted to it in a very enjoyable way. So I don't give too much away here because this clip is fantastic. But I also have a second clip coming up that also is a bit of a super cut, as I'll show you what that's all about. But first, here is this clip of Barry Weiss and a doctor reacting to how ridiculous Barry Weiss is being.
I'm done with COVID.
Oh,
I'm done. It's
yeah.
like I went so hard on COVID. I
remember.
sprayed the Pringles cans that I bought at the grocery store, stripped my clothes off
The
because
Pringles cans?
I thought COVID would be on my clothes. Like, I did it all. And then we were told, you get the vaccine. You get the vaccine and you get back to normal. And we haven't gotten back to normal. And it's ridiculous at this point. This
Yeah,
is
because there's other people that aren't because they're a bunch of fucking idiots.
going to be remembered by the younger generation
believe in ridiculous
as a
conspiracy
catastrophic
theories.
moral crime.
And Dr. Reiner, you told Barry Weiss essentially she needed to grow up.
Yeah, she needed to grow up because she's acting like a child. You don't want to play this game anymore, and you're going to take your ball and go home. You're acting like a child. I like the sacrifices that she enumerated, like that she stripped off her clothes when she got home, and then she cleaned the grocery cans. Meanwhile, my colleagues in hospitals all around the country went into care for people dying from this virus and continue to do that every day. Man our ERs and our ICUs every day. And for the first year of this pandemic, they did that without any protection of a vaccine. That's the sacrifice they made. And all that we've done is ask the public to wear a mask when you go out and about and get vaccinated. Right?
It's pretty simple. And considering that, like, she barely has to make any actual fucking sacrifices in comparison to, like, frontline workers, essential workers, you know, grocery store workers, especially, you know, people who are, like, nurses and doctors, like, yeah, they're on the front lines, and they, you know, for a long time were, you know, under the protection of fucking vaccines and shit, but since, you know, those were available and shit, you know, a lot of them, you know, luckily were able to get it. But now at this point, it's just like, there are, you know, people who are very adamantly obstinate about this type of shit. And some people just don't even give a shit anymore, like you, Barry, that, you know, are just being fucking idiots that just like, oh, I just want to go back to normal, you know, I don't care anymore, meh. You know, it's like, that's the reason why we, you know, we're not getting, you know, legitimately, quote-unquote, back to normal, in a sense, is because of people like you fucking moron.
I'm glad she's done with it. But I sort of feel like this country has been in a boat that is filled with water, and some of us have been trying to bail the water out of this boat for the last 2 years, and now we have people like Barry Weiss basically saying, "I'm done. I'm not bailing the water out anymore." And when somebody who is relatively young and relatively healthy says that, what they're saying is, "I'll be okay if I get this virus. Screw you. Doesn't matter to me what happens to you." That's the message I get from her.
Yeah.
So there you have Dr. Jonathan Reiner giving
Damn. Amazing. Wrecked.
Weiss some much needed perspective. She complains about having to clean groceries or having to at one point do that, having to wear a mask, you know, just general.
I honestly thought she was saying she was like spraying Pringles cans like they were Febreze or something. I'm like, what? Like, wait, you're using like, oh my god! Like, I honestly thought she was trying to be like, you know, oh, I have like, you know, Febreze cans the size of Pringle, you know, stacks and shit, you know, trying to spray things down, or whatever the fuck, but it's, either way, it's still fucking stupid.
Meanwhile, there are actual doctors and nurses at the heart of this that aren't with their families half the time, are in these hospitals trying to take care of these patients who are largely, by the way, unvaccinated, largely have not taken the pandemic seriously, are now in the hospitals, in the ICUs. And Barry Weiss is complaining about having to at one point clean her groceries. It is just amazing how selfish these comments are. That this was a New York Times op-ed editor. She wrote for the New York Times before she decided to leave and then claimed cancel culture. Just it's so incredibly selfish to have comments like this. And look, nobody wants to be going through this still. Nobody wants to still be having to wear a mask. Nobody wants to have to physically distance. Nobody. We want to get back.
Shit, I sure don't. Aside from the physical distance thing, I don't mind, you know, being like 10 feet away from somebody or whatever the fuck. That's whatever.
Before COVID-19, but the reality is this is a public health issue. So we deal with this as a society. We take these protections not for ourselves, if we're healthy and young, but for others, to try and limit the spread as much as possible.
Yeah.
That same day that Barry Weiss made those comments, U.S. reports 3,896 new coronavirus deaths, highest since January 2021.
Wow.
This pandemic is not over. It's still going on.
It's not even close to being over.
So even though your feelings may want it to be over, it's not over. Now, luckily, numbers are coming down generally, at least in the U.S. here. Reported cases have come down a little more recently over the past week or so. So it hit this huge spike with Omicron. while we were all pretending it was gone. Oh, back to school, back to work, everything's normal. Meanwhile, the biggest spike ever for COVID-19. But it's amazing. People have to be able to disconnect their own personal feelings and own anger about this situation with the reality of what is actually going on, with the actual data, the actual science, and what we need to do as a society to overcome this for everyone.
I mean, it's not that fucking hard to fucking figure out, like, straight up. It's like, hey, you know, we got, you know, like a pandemic and shit, and it's still going on. You know, so it's like, if you got vaccinated and got booster shots and shit, good. That's good. But you still gotta wear a mask and shit. Like, I mean, because Omicron, you know, even with the vaccines, it still can still potentially be contagious. I mean, it's like, it helps, you know, you specifically, but, you know, that's kind of the point of getting the vaccine. It helps you. You know, but if you still get it and spread it to other people, like, if those people aren't vaccinated or immunocompromised or whatever, you know, or aren't going to fare as well to dealing with the virus in comparison to you, I mean, that's the reason why we still wear masks and shit and make sure that, you know, as many people as possible are vaccinated. That's kind of the fucking point of this shit. It's like, man, these fucking dipshits. Swear to God. Ugh, Dios mío. I mean, how hard is it to just, like, flop up a little mask and shit and just go about your business, and then once you're outside or at home, who cares? It's just like when you're inside at a building, especially a place like grocery stores and shit like that, it's, yeah, just fucking wear it. Not hard. Anyway, well, it's called good for the meantime now. Head off to work on that phone shift. But I'll be back after my phone shift. So, peace out for now, and I'll be back in that